I mean,
But you can't diminish what Trump did as a political matter. I mean, whether you want a plurality or not, he had 16 opponents, many of them governors, senators, and he just slaughtered them all one by one without really any impediment, anything holding him back. And now, I think the more relevant point that Bill's making is today, the never Trump rump is diminished, dwindled to almost nothing. Yeah, you've got this incredibly high, historic, as I said before, historic level of support among Republicans. And no one, even though you could at least at the beginning of the administration, you looked at people like Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and said, well, they're going along with Trump to get their agenda done. Well, they got their tax cut, and now today they're still not standing up to
they have no other agenda.
They're afraid of the base.
They know the base is with them.
I know.
All right, this is now the party of Trump.
Let's get another question in. Let's get these people spend time writing these questions. Let's get.
In this fiery debate, a bold conservative clashes with Bill Maher and his panel, taking on their anti-Trump narratives with sharp wit and undeniable facts. As the conservative dismantles each argument with ease, the panel struggles to defend their rhetoric, leaving the audience captivated by the relentless exchange. This electrifying confrontation is a defining moment in the battle of political ideologies. Bill Maher's show becomes the stage for a powerful takedown as a fearless conservative exposes the flaws in progressive talking points. Highlighting the widening gap between leftist narratives and conservative perspectives, the conservatives' compelling arguments leave Maher's panel stunned and scrambling for responses. If you're a fan of hard-hitting political debates, this explosive showdown is packed with unforgettable moments. Don't miss out on this viral sensation that's sure to spark conversations everywhere.
This is for you, Michael. You said you can be a minority and a conservative, but can you be a minority and a Republican under this administration?
You know, that's a good question. I think that the expectation, at least from what I get from talking to other African Americans and minorities in general, is that sure, we don't have a problem with you being a Republican, but our expectation is that you are articulating the concerns of our community. So yes, I'm a black person who happens to be a Republican. That doesn't mean I don't care about police brutality. That doesn't mean I don't care about criminal justice reform. Those are issues that disproportionately impact my community. And it is my duty, if you will, when I'm at that table, when I'm in those meetings, to advocate for the issues of my community, because I recognize there will be moments like the moment we see now, where you have a Jeff Sessions running the criminal justice system. And he's rolling back a lot of things that President Obama did with bipartisan support that benefited African Americans. So it is my charge to say, wait a minute here, you're not going to pass policy legislation that's going to continue to disproportionately impact not only black people, but brown people. So I think you can most certainly be a conservative and a minority, but being a Republican right now during the age of Trump, I think is a very difficult thing.
Michael, you want to?
No, absolutely right. I mean, which is why Sir Michael happens to be one of my favorite Republicans, because what we've seen is a lack.
Big of you.
Well, I mean,
pretty short list.
Some of your best friends are Republicans.
You know, y'all are taking all my good lines. But the thing is that if you have black people who understand, even if you're associated with that administration, that what Trump is doing is undercutting the value of not only black people, but Republicans, as we've been saying. And the fact that you had William Coleman, the fact that you had a legacy of black people, Jackie Robinson for that matter, who were Republicans, who understood that it was about an economic orientation of fiscal conservatism. It was not about the culture wars that Trump seems invested in, because one of the factors we missed in all of this brouhaha is the demonization of the big black boogeyman, Barack Obama, and that spooked a lot of people into voting for the Republicans in a serious way.
But you know, Dr. Dyson,
I don't think that kind of mindset really exists anymore. I appreciate this guy for standing up for himself as a conservative. It's commendable. But honestly, it's ridiculous that he even has to defend himself for being one. The idea of a narrow exclusionary conservatism may have existed in the past, but it's outdated now. Sure, historically, there were people who wanted to resist progress and preserve harmful societal norms. Back then, conservatives resisted change while liberals pushed for progress. That's just how the dynamic worked. But times have changed significantly. Today, while there might still be individuals with outdated views, they are a small fringe group, and certainly not representative of mainstream conservatives or political leaders. Those individuals don't hold significant influence anymore, especially not as major candidates or policymakers. It's absurd to assume that someone needs to defend themselves against association with such a tiny minority of people.
Well, you know, what I was writing about in that book was the post-American world, because you had China rising, you had India rising, you had Europe that had come together. The point I was trying to make was we're in a kind of historical shift of power where these other countries, often that had long been mired in poverty, are rising in economic growth, political power, cultural confidence. And so that world has been going on. You know, the emerging markets were 5% of global GDP 25 years ago. They're now 50% of global GDP. But what I did not predict was that the United States would sort of abdicate leadership of its position. Because I argued the United States would still be incredibly powerful. It would set the agenda. It represented, you know, the values. It had a way of being able to be the leader. And this shift where the United States has decided to literally just walk away from its own creation. I mean, people forget, this was the world that FDR and Harry Truman built after World War II. And to see, you know, the Europeans, as I say, are sort of surprised because they don't quite understand it. They're like, wait, you built this house and now you want to set it on fire?
I'm less surprised that a Trump could rise. I mean, that has happened in countries where, as how quickly the Republican Party just completely got behind him. It reminds me of the Neanderthals. You know, no, really. I love ancient archaeology and that kind of stuff. So, like, you have the humans and the Neanderthals who are sharing the planet from about 100,000 BC to about 40,000 BC, and then suddenly, no more Neanderthals. I think because humans, they figured out the blowgun, so they could kill you from 10 feet away. I'm getting this from the movie Quest for Fire. I don't know this. But I think that. So, but like, it's like there's Neanderthals, and then suddenly the fossil gone, and that's kind of what happened to the Republicans.
I think
they were just there, and then they suddenly disappeared.
I think what happened is, and this is, you know, gets to the point Linda was asking, what happened to my party? I think that Trump recognized, and the primaries you see this, that the base of the Republican Party was in a completely different place than the elites in Washington thought.
Fareed Zakaria highlights a significant global power shift where nations such as China, India, and a unified Europe are emerging as influential players. This rise, fueled by economic growth, political clout, and cultural confidence, signals a transformation in the world order that challenges traditional U.S. dominance. Zakaria critiques the U.S. for stepping back from the leadership position it established post-World War II under figures like FDR and Harry Truman. He points out that this retreat is not due to external pressure, but rather a self-imposed abdication of responsibility. This behavior is likened to setting fire to a house the U.S. itself built, leaving allies and global institutions perplexed and destabilized. The critique underscores how the U.S.'s withdrawal has created a vacuum, accelerating the emergence of a post-American world where power is more dispersed and less anchored by American values and influence.
I can understand how you could do it when the Republican Party was a party that was about economics and free markets and free. Right now, the Republican Party is defined by its suspicion and hostility toward people who look different, sound different, worship different gods. So that's the party. How are you distinguishing yourself?
Well, look, Fareed, you know, President Trump talks a lot about patriotism to the country. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, we say one nation, under God, indivisible, et cetera, et cetera. One nation, under God, indivisible. One nation. Rhetoric or reality? Do we truly believe we are one nation? And if we are, then that means we recognize and we accept that we are a country compounded of different folks from all over the world, regardless of what they look like, their sex, or their religion.
Well, that's not how a lot of your fellow Republicans look at it.
Donald Trump but Donald Trump certainly doesn't look at him. All you had to do is look at, you know, Hurricane Maria and look what happened in Puerto Rico.
But we've allowed him, Linda, to define
I wouldn't wait
Americans.
for your invitation to the CPAC convention.
Oh, that's not coming anytime soon.
All right, thank you.
The analysis highlights the complex dynamics within the Republican Party and broader American political discourse. It reveals a tension between cultural perceptions of the Republican Party, often criticized for exclusivity and social conservatism, and the efforts of individual conservatives, particularly minorities, to reconcile their political affiliations with broader societal values and community advocacy. Minority conservatives in particular face the challenge of addressing societal expectations while remaining true to their political identity. Thank you for watching and being part of this important conversation. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated on more debates, insights, and thought-provoking discussions, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us bring you more content that challenges ideas and sparks meaningful dialogue. Don't forget to like, share, and comment with your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.